Sometimes innovation is something old or something we've been used to being seen in a new light. A lot of people have struggled to show how we can bring faith, how there's an intersectionality of a belief in prayer, God, spirituality into the marketplace. But it's really as simple as seeing people as Renaissance artists, someone cultured, someone proficient in a wide range of fields or gifts or skills. I mean, every time you hear somebody talk about God, they shouldn't be relegated to one box. It shouldn't have one label. It doesn't mean they're destined to be a pastor necessarily, though there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean they've given up everything they've ever wanted fulfillment-wise and now they're taking a vow of poverty. It means in addition to their expertise in a particular industry, whether it's marketing or it's retail or it's tech, they're multi-talented and they've decided to hopefully pursue an unselfish ambition. The same way people are passionate about poetry, literature, travel, nature, you can be passionate about God. You can be passionate about the Bible and the story of a man named Jesus who is said to have never sinned, who loved unconditionally, who gave to rich and poor, to sick and successful, and that he denied himself for the benefit of humanity. The most exceptional in our generation of every age do not just want to help their community and their family. They want to help all of mankind. And more people who are working have more than one endeavor to achieve that. They have more than one business, more than one expertise or interest. Now, I remember when that was really difficult to try to figure out, because this is more than a side hustle. Today, it's more common in this economy we have of solopreneurs and online content creators to pursue these multiple streams. The US Chamber of Commerce tracking crazy high numbers of new business applications, especially in 2022 and 2023. Many people are aspiring to be multi-hyphenates with multiple streams of income. Gen Z defined by this desire, exploring their diverse passions. They don't want to be boxed in. And it's kind of this combination of wanting to have more options, and then they have all of these social media channels to choose from for inspiration. They don't desire to be defined by history or family or tradition. And they resist FOMO, that fear of missing out. Passion and purpose driving them and all of us today with the ability to glimpse into other people's worlds. And that has given us an exciting opportunity. Many Gen Zers are also talking about how they're praying to God. A recent Barna study shows that the majority of Gen Zers, 2 out of every 3, prayed within 7 days of being polled, no matter what their church or their religious affiliation. They're looking for a spiritual experience. But it's not just Gen Z. If we look at things like prayer, communion with the Creator, as more signals of a renaissance of culture or a reformation than ultimately religion, then we can actually see how it could be embraced and be much easier to adapt to in the marketplace, in education, and in the arts. Now, the term multi-hyphenate, it actually began back in the 1970s. Yes, we've been using that term for a lot longer than I realized. The Oxford Dictionary defines a multi-hyphenate as a person, especially a celebrity, with several professions or skills. Pharrell Williams, born in 1973, could easily have his picture right next to the definition of multi-hyphenate or Renaissance man. I mean, he's done pretty much everything from music, of course, to start, to fashion, and even animation. I was on a plane. I decided to check out his very original and innovative concept, a Lego movie about his life, piece by piece. I'm not sure if you saw this, but he made this biopic with the timeless toy bricks, sharing the story of his upbringing. It's pretty amazing.
When I was a kid, I knew I was different. And people would say, oh, that's an odd child. And that crushed my spirit. But I loved music. It was mesmerizing to me. I would see beautiful hues of light cascading. I firmly believe that everybody has talent, beauty, and potential. He opened our eyes to a whole different perspective.
I actually took notes of this movie. One important theme was that Pharrell's grandmother, a Christian, a church-going woman, was the individual who identified and nurtured Pharrell's gift. She purchased his first snare drum. She told him to enroll in music classes when he had to repeat the 7th grade. She had a predictive spiritual dream about how he would be promoted in his life and do something out of this world. And today, we know him as one of the most successful music producers and artists in the industry. He had this otherworldly experience with the sounds that he heard on the radio. He has a phenomenal gift. And at one point, he shared how he went to his pastor when he struggled to find someone in the music business that would give him the chance to do his own music. Now, this example of a spiritual advisor in a movie is a pretty bold step, yet really relatable to audiences drawn not only to Pharrell's wide-ranging success, but in culture. Most entertainment borrows from a common theme, something we can all relate to, and arguably a biblical one, of the most difficult moments in a main character's life turning around for good. The main character feels stuck. They've been rejected. They failed. They reached the end of their rope. And now there's this decision to make. Again, you've seen this storyline. You've lived this storyline. The main character could quit, but then something joyous happens. In superhero movies, perhaps a sidekick arrives, or a portal opens, or the engine starts on the spaceship, and they escape just in time. But in real life, our heroes and protagonists, they don't have a DeLorean like Marty McFly in Back to the Future. They often have what we like to call, culturally, as a spiritual awakening. Some people call it a come to Jesus meeting. They might talk to their pastor or go to church and reach this point of inexplicable certainty and confidence that God is going to help them. Or angels, whether real or symbolic of the kindness of strangers or friends, come to their rescue. Or they get a word in their quiet time, in their private moments, and a revelation, a promise that aids them in being able to keep going. There's been this big boom in references to what I'm talking about, including church and the Bible, from entertainers and business minds. Here's Trevor Noah asking his longtime friend, South African author, commentator, and YouTube OG on his podcast about his moment.
Wait, you've started going to church now, right?
Yes.
What? Like, why? I would love to know why.
So, well, as you know, I lost my mother last year. I mean, I remember driving, to the funeral with my sisters. And I'm trying to not cry as I'm talking to my sisters.
Yeah.
And I says, guys, I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to speak at the funeral. I know I'm supposed to, but I'm not going to do it. I can feel I won't be able to do it.
Damn.
Once I'm in front of the church, it's going to be impossible. And they're like, no, you can't do that. She would have wanted you to. But then there's women that my mom went to church with. They're out there, they celebrate through singing. They're like just singing, and they keep coming. They kept looking at me. There's this old woman. She's 93 or 94, old, like tiny. She really, I know not many people are smaller than me, but she was like really, and she keeps going like this and she's singing. And they were so joyous. And then I got up and I joined them and I started singing. And I felt this, I think I almost felt her presence, my mother's presence, and I felt like God's presence. At that moment, I was feeling so broken and weak and unable. I was like, wow, I know I can speak now. I know I can speak. And I got up and in fact, I didn't even make the speech that I'd prepared in my mind. I literally got up and sang. And I started singing.
What did you sing?
I sang, there's a song by a very traditional Xhosa song that was made famous by also a Xhosa singer, Umandisi Jantjies. And it's Guma Malo, Ondizalayo, Guma Malo. Which is like, this is my mother who has raised me. And then I just started speaking quite joyously about her. Very brief, very short. And then I was like, next week when I go back to Joburg, I'm going to church.
How do you get out of these sad, sorrowful states to break through? It's been fascinating to see some of the most famous, admired people in the world talk about their journey to understand what real fulfillment and real alignment looks like. Take Denzel Washington, one of the most celebrated actors of all time, talking about a prophecy from 50 years ago, a woman in his church delivering what is biblically defined as a word from God that predicts things to come. It's often something that provides a part of a vision or a clue to what will happen in the future. Here's Denzel Washington speaking to Oprah nearly 20 years ago.
I was sitting in my mother's beauty shop, looking in the mirror, and I see this woman through the mirror. She's behind me under the dryer. And every time I look up, she's like, so I'm kind of looking away, you know. And every time I looked up, she was just like this.
Looking at you.
She said, somebody give me a piece of paper. And she wrote prophecy. She couldn't even spell it. She wrote prophecy, and she wrote 1975, and she wrote the number 28. I'm born on the 28th. My wife is born on the 28th. My first son is born on the 20th. I don't know if it means anything. I don't know why she wrote 28. But she wrote prophecy, and she says, boy, you're going to speak to millions of people. She says, you're going to travel the world, and you're going to speak to millions of people. And I asked my mother, I said, well, who is this woman?
The gift of prophecy.
She said, well, she's one of the oldest church members in the town,
and
she's
had that
known
gift.
to have the gift of prophecy. And she wrote down 1975, she wrote prophecy. So I thought, so am I supposed to become a preacher? I asked my pastor, should I become a preacher? He's like, no, you're doing good right where you are. He says, you are a preacher. So I have always looked at, I'm saying all this to say, I have always looked at what I do as, not preaching, but maybe as my pulpit, you know, the roles that I played, I looked at the spiritual evolution of those characters, not just the characters. People like Reuben Hurricane Carter, Malcolm X, Stephen Biko.
Which you deserved an Oscar for Hurricane
infused that
Carter.
in there. Even Training Day, the first thing I wrote on that script was, the wages of sin is death.
And now here he is in 2024 being baptized and ordained as a minister. I mean, you think about the kind of year this man had. He has received rave reviews for his portrayal in Othello on Broadway. He received the Presidential Medal of Freedom at the White House in January 2025. And he's not ashamed of his faith. He's not afraid to talk about seeing the face of God, asking God to see his face, or talking about how he heard from God. Denzel in his journey, his prayers, his seeking, it's relatable. Many people are seekers. They want to know more. On the other side, they want to know what they were put on this earth for. Denzel was in the news a ton in 2024. Just search Denzel Face of God. You'll see it and hear it.
On the boat, listening to a song, and the song was called The Face of God. And I see the face of God, whatever the song was. I'm like, oh, no musicals in my future. And I'm like, Lord, you know, and I was in prayer. I just finished my prayers and meditation, listening to the music. And I said, Lord, you know, everybody can see the face of God. I want to see your face. And as I was saying, I want to see your face, I heard, as clear as day, I heard, turn to your left. I turned to my left, and I picked up my phone, and I took a picture. This is what I saw.
I'll just try and describe the photo to you. It's essentially the clouds have formed like a human face in the sky.
And when I saw this, asking to see the face of God, I didn't then turn and search the skies, nor did I finish asking.
Is this the rambling of an egotistical lunatic? Is this the vain and superstitious nonsense from somebody out of touch with reality? Absolutely not. This is one of the most renowned, acclaimed, and beloved actors in the world, articulating his beliefs very clearly for all of us. All of us want that kind of realness. It is so real to him. No matter what you believe, we all want that level of trusted conviction. And we're going to hear more of that. You know, in one of the videos that I found of Denzel, when he was talking about his life and his seeking of God, he said that his purpose in life was not acting. He actually often talks about this, that he was not put on this earth to perform. He says his purpose is to be an example and share the power and wisdom and grace and mercy of God in his life. Britannica defines Renaissance man as this all-embracing of knowledge, that we would develop ourselves as fully as possible. Here's my observation. It is time And it is inevitable with this ever-changing media landscape that faith, prayer, God, expressions of respect for sacred spaces, that it will be increasingly embraced and not be seen as indoctrination or religious exercise or something archaic among the masses. It's going to be increasingly received. It's been legitimized by too many people, whether influencers or celebrities like Denzel Washington and Pharrell, or stories that start trending on multiple digital platforms from everyday people from every walk of life. This generation will see examples of people who can seamlessly go between the divine and the disruptive, between culture and conversations. We are seeing only the beginning of the most transformative time when it comes fully, authentically into the business arena, among the most talented, among the most intelligent, among the most full of faith. They're not going to be labeled anymore. Denzel's not just a religious person. He's not fake. He's consistent. He can speak easily about film and theater and Jesus. He's a man who knows who he is. That's authentic. And that's what this generation has an insatiable hunger for. Industries are going to need to stay relevant and catch up. So stay tuned. We'll talk about how to stay relevant to the Renaissance in a future episode. Thanks for joining us.